It started all in 1971. That was the year. Since they've gone off gold-backed dollar, it's the debt only goes up, only goes in one way. Basis of the U.S. economy is debt-based. It's a consumer debt-based economy, so it has to grow forever, right? I don't think that's why the Fed's cutting rates. I think the rest of the world is in trouble when we're holding at 5% here. November of 2023 for me is when I mainly started searching for the credit cards and seeing what the market would give me in terms of debt. At the time, I was already in Bitcoin, so I was just looking for more ways to maximize my Bitcoin position.
Hey everyone, Sergio here. Welcome to the Insiders. I have a very special guest today, Sonny. I've been actually wanting to do this for a long time, and we kind of hooked up on X, and I follow him, he follows me, and then as they say, great minds think alike, and I call him my Bitcoin guru, actually. But I'm gonna shut up and have him introduce himself. Welcome, Sonny.
Yeah, thank you, Sergio, for having me on. Like you said, yeah, we follow each other on Twitter, and basically my whole account, I generally just post about Bitcoin mainly, and just macro, how the dollar's been debasing and how people need to save in hard money, etc.
Yeah, I mean, what did you do before? What is your career like? Tell our audience about what you did before and what you're currently doing.
So I've been kind of in the same industry as far as career goes. I've been in IT, software engineering, since I was out of school. It's
Okay.
been, I would say, since 2011,
Mm-hmm.
about 13 years now, and I still do the same job mainly.
Okay. And we want to talk a little bit about, obviously, the gaslighting the government's doing, but I guess that's their job, and it's our job to kind of, tear it all apart and then explain it to the people who really don't understand what's going on. How their $100 that they had 10 years ago is worth zero, basically. Uh, because they keep gaslighting about the 2% inflation and this and that. It's not 2%, people. Trust me, it's
That's right.
not.
That's right.
So let's talk a little bit about that. Let's talk a little bit about macro economics, and then let's talk a little bit about why we both think the dollar is trash. So I'll let you go ahead.
Well, okay. So there's a lot there, but I think just at a very high level, the the whole like purpose of the system we have in the US is that it's all nominal based, and which means they're always just going to, if they promise $100, you're going to get $100. But where the debasement happens is it's not going to buy $100 worth of goods and services in any year of your choosing into the future. So that's the gaslighting. That's gaslighting 101.
Yeah.
They'll just tell you nominally, yes, you'll get what you get, but of course, we know that it will buy less and less in the real world.
Yeah. Well, I have a great analogy when it comes to that. I mean, I tell the people that I deal with, I go, if you took $100 and 10 years ago went to Costco, let's say, right? Everybody goes to Costco, right?
Yeah.
You could have bought like literally maybe 12 items and walked out of there, right? Take that same $100, go to Costco today. Let's see how many items you walk out with, right? And
right. Maybe five.
Maybe five, exactly,
Yeah.
because everything's $19.99 now. But this has been going on for a while, though, right? I mean, I look back at the Nixon era when the gold standard took off, right? There was no more gold standard, and then we figured, okay, we're just going to keep borrowing money and we're going to grow the economy that way. And initially, it actually worked to a point. We were getting good ROI on the borrowing that we were doing. Now ROI is trash. I mean, we're not getting anything out of it. All we're doing is just adding to the national debt. What do you say about that?
Yeah, basically, I think the consensus is that it started all in 1971. That was the year, and since they've gone off gold-backed dollar, it's the debt only goes up, only goes in one way, and it's all just nominal numbers at that point.
Yeah.
No real growth, really. No real. There's some real productivity, but it's all just debt-based now.
Okay. Do you see this debt problem? I talk quite a bit on my channel. Do you see this debt problem being solved by either side at all?
No, of course not, because the basis of the U.S. economy is debt-based. It's a consumer debt-based economy, so it has to grow forever, right? It has to.
Yeah.
So
Once
it
our
must grow.
GDP, yeah, once we got rid of manufacturing, our GDP became, 80% of it is consumer spending. There is not much you can do other than keep printing and keep sending people plastic so they can buy stuff, right?
And they
Need
have
or
to
not
keep
need.
spending. Correct. You have to keep spending.
Yeah.
The government has to give guys like me new lines of credit, new credit cards, new debt products, so
Yeah.
I can just keep adding every year to the debt.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the
Well,
economy stalls. That's the only way you get GDP, by
do
spending.
you think what's happening lately with the Fed cutting rates, which they keep gaslighting and saying everything is fine, unemployment is fine, inflation is fine, economy is fine. Why are they cutting rates, do you think?
Because I don't think they're cutting rates to be accommodative to the Treasury, to be honest with you. I think a lot of people think that we have to finance our debt upcoming now, and it's 5% is a bit too high, so our
Mhm.
interest expense is going to skyrocket at 5%. I don't
Yeah.
think that's why the Fed's cutting rates. I think the rest of the world is in trouble when we're holding at 5% here.
Yeah.
The rest of the world is the ones that need to borrow dollars at 5%, and things will break all over the world if they keep it at 5%. I think that's why they're cutting rates.
Okay. So basically, the consumer is not going to benefit from lower rates, actually. They're cutting rates because they need lower rates because, look what's happening in China, right? Look what's happening here. I mean, all the bonds that they issued, $35
Mhm.
trillion worth are all maturing. And then the coupon on the new bonds is going to be 4 or 5. And the servicing of our debt is like 1.2 trillion this year. I'm going like, how's this going to end? I have 2 kids. I don't know if you have kids or not, but I'm really
I have
concerned.
I have
Like,
no I have no kids.
you have no kids? Okay. Well, I'm
Not yet, not
concerned
yet.
about their future. I mean, like,
Mhm.
why are you mortgaging my kid's future here? I'm not even sure.
Yeah, and that is the play. That's the government's play, is to, borrow from unborn future generations. You borrow their purchasing power and you bring it in now. And that's what they do. So you as a consumer have to do everything you can to battle that. Everything you can.
If the economy is going to slow down, which there are signs of it, already credit card bubble is kind of popping, auto loans are delinquencies and all that stuff. If I mean our economy slows down, what happens? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, then you get a classic recession, right? If it slows down and we have negative growth, I think 2 quarters in a row or something, whatever,
Yeah,
however they define it.
yeah,
You have a recession, technically, which is not good for anybody, especially the government, because things haven't gone up and they haven't gotten their taxes on, like appreciation on stocks or real estate, because that's a big part of their income.
yeah.
So they can't have a recession either. Things must go up. Assets must keep going up
Assets must keep going up. Okay,
for the government.
I'm not
Yeah, they have to because
forever.
they need that.
Forever. No, I mean, I'm old enough to have seen few recessions. I don't think the new generation has not seen a recession. And,
Yeah,
if they just go,
technically, I think no one has seen it since the '09 GFC. Nobody has.
yeah, well, that's when
It's
it all
been super
started,
brief.
right?
It's been very brief.
Didn't it all started there though, right? They wouldn't allow too big to fail, right? I mean, in 08, 09, it took 800 billion of TARP to save the banks. Then
Mhm.
we hit the pandemic. It takes $8 trillion. So what happens
Mhm.
on the next one? $20 trillion? Is that what's going to
It
happen?
it should be a factor higher, multiple factors higher.
My God.
Because it's
All
just
right.
math.
So,
At the end of the day, it's all just math, and it compounds, and you have to do multiples of it.
all right. So before we depress our audience too much more, but this is reality, people. I mean, this is what's really happening. So, talk about this at your dinner tables instead of, football or whatever. This is what's happening.
Yeah.
You guys are all facing this. Honestly, I think it's like, it's such a point that a lot of people are missing. But now we're going to get into my favorite part of why I wanted to have you on. Okay. So you saw this picture. You didn't like this picture at all. Not only you're doing something about it, right? And you keep doing it. So I'm just going to let you have the floor and go as long as you want, explaining what you have been doing and what you're going to continue to do as far as Bitcoin is concerned.
Okay. Yeah. So it all goes back to November of 2023 for me is when I mainly started searching for the credit cards and seeing what the market would give me in terms of debt. But that all stems from basically, I think in 23 was the height of Ukraine funding headlines in the news. Just
Sure.
every week you would see 100 billion here, 100 billion there. If you remember those headlines, it's almost every week back in 23.
Yeah.
So I mean, I kept seeing it, and I just kept wondering, okay, what actually are they doing with the dollar here? There's no end to this, right? They're just gonna keep. We're eventually gonna get to $1 trillion if it just keeps going. So I felt like I had to really do something, and get into at the time I was already in Bitcoin, so I was just looking for more ways to maximize my Bitcoin position. Because when you see things like that, you never have enough Bitcoin. You're really rushing to add more, because tomorrow you're going to just see another headline, 400 billion approved to Ukraine. Actually going to see it. So that was the basis of it all back in November 23. So I basically just went on Google and I searched for the cheapest forms of consumer debt. There's personal loans, there's credit cards you can open, there's 0% intro APR. There's all kinds of things. I mean, you can get a house loan. I don't have much equity in my house, so that wasn't the cheapest version of debt. So it ended up being credit cards and doing all these 0% offers. So that's what I did. I found about 8 of them, and I applied to all 8, and they gave me all 8.
They gave you all 8.
All 8. I had no rejections at the time.
Your credit must have been good. But then, that's what they do, though, right? Like you said, I mean, they have to give it to you because they think you're going to spend it. They didn't think they're going to do. You did what, they didn't think what you were going to do. They didn't have a clue. But so you got 8. I mean, may I ask, like, what the total amount was on those 8 credit cards?
Yeah, I have it all on my spreadsheet, which I actually post every month on the update. But the total amount is about 55,000-ish.
Okay. Then so you took that out and bought Bitcoin, and then I'm assuming you have a cold wallet. You took it out of the exchange. Is that what you did?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's in my it's in cold storage. It's
Okay.
not on any exchange.
Okay. So, a lot of people are going to ask me questions, but then once we post the video, I mean, hopefully you'll come in and answer some of the comments.
No, absolutely.
Look, you're doing something. I mean, look, you're borrowing money ultimately, right? And then those 0 APR offers are not going to last forever. Although,
That's right.
so what are you? So I'm pretty sure since then some of them have come due because they're not going to give it to you for forever. So what are you going to do? What are you doing?
So since I've started it in November 2023, all of them are actually 18 to 21 months. So nothing has been collected yet.
Okay.
So it's almost 12 months now, right? Almost.
Yeah.
So I've got another 6 more to go before they change the 0% to like 25%. That's what happens.
Okay. So you
So I've
bought
got,
Bitcoin. You bought Bitcoin, right? I mean, I'm assuming
yeah,
last November. I'm trying to think what Bitcoin was. Probably was like 30K or something like that.
it was 29K. Yeah, that was my first purchase.
Okay. So your cost basis is 30K. We're at 65K ish or 66.
Yeah. So my
Whatever.
cost basis is actually 37K because I got the cards separately, like a week later, 2 weeks later, and
Okay.
Bitcoin really was moving. So I was buying it as soon as I had it. It was not all at the same time. So my cost basis is 37,000.
Okay. What other costs are involved when you do the APR thing, right? I mean, other than initially none, I'm assuming.
Well, actually, initially it's just 3%. They take
Okay.
like a transfer fee, which
Okay.
is 3%.
Okay. So you bought the Bitcoin, right? Your
Yeah,
cost base is 37. You're almost looking at, well, kind of a double or 80%.
yeah,
So
almost there.
you're doing pretty much what the government's doing, pretty much. you, they
That's
lend.
right. So here, and I want to highlight the difference here. So
Okay.
the government, uh, they borrow by issuing bonds, right? They print up
Yeah.
bonds and they sell it.
Yeah.
But they also print up dollars and they service their own payments. They don't need to work like I need to work, right?
Yeah.
I don't have a printer, but it's the same concept. They just they print it up to service their debt. I have my regular day job to service my debt.
Okay.
And another difference is they don't buy hard assets with their printed money. They just spend it, right?
Yeah.
That's what they do. They spend.
Right.
Whereas me, I'm borrowing and I'm buying hard assets. That's another
Okay.
difference.
So what do you look at Bitcoin as? I mean, I've interviewed a whole bunch of people, and some believe it, some believe it. I'm a huge believer in it. Okay. I think fiat currency is trash. And they keep, I mean, I've seen the picture. I've seen this movie before. I'm too old not to have seen it. But that's why when I look at the overall picture now, gold is at an all-time high, Bitcoin pretty close to an all-time high. Although there's only one asset that I see. I mean, initially my thought was, okay, I mean, we know what Bitcoin was used for in the dark web and all that stuff, right? And then my biggest concern, I own Bitcoin, maybe 8% of my assets are in Bitcoin.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, they could come and get rid of this thing because they're using it for some nefarious, transactions on the dark web. My biggest concern was government. Well, now that we have the ETFs, we have BlackRocks. I mean, the government's done. That
Yeah.
scare is gone now.
That ship
So
has sailed a long time ago now.
exactly. So now, with all these different ETFs, and we'll talk a little bit about Mr. Michael Saylor as well. I'm pretty sure you know who he is. And so I decided that I'm looking at asset bases that could not be duplicated, or more of it can get created. So I look at gold. Well, gold, there's always gold. They're digging out of the ground. There's non-ending supply of it. I look at stocks. Okay, well, company can issue stocks. I mean,
Yep.
secondaries or whatever. Bonds, same thing. So I see just only one asset class, let's say, if you want to call Bitcoin there's a finite amount of this thing. Now, do you see a danger of this collapsing at some point? I mean, if what if tomorrow somebody says, "Oh, I can make another 21 million Bitcoin"? What happens then?
So it's not just about tomorrow somebody making another Bitcoin. It's about getting the whole world to buy your version of it. That's the only way to make it collapse.
Okay.
You can go do it right now tonight. You can make the second Bitcoin. You can make the supply 2 as well. Way more scarce than Bitcoin. But I'm not going to buy it. Your neighbor's not going to buy it. Michael Saylor's not going to buy it. So yours is not going to go up, and the original Bitcoin is still going to have value.
Why did you choose Bitcoin
anyone can
over?
copy paste the code. Anyone can do it.
Yeah. Why did you choose? I mean, obviously, it hasn't been hacked for, I don't know, 12, 14 years. It looks like, the ledger is working fine. And what made you choose Bitcoin over other coins? Let's say Ethereum or some other. I'm not talking shit coins. I'm just talking the proper ones.
I think the main reason is it was the first one, and it's the only one that didn't have like a pre-mine, like a guy who created it and just gave himself a bunch and like gave himself and his friends a bunch and then printed up a bunch. It wasn't like that, which is what Ethereum is, right? It
Yeah.
has like Vitalik and his friends, right? They're in first, and then they printed up a bunch for everyone else. Bitcoin is not that.
Okay.
To me, it's the only one that's proof of work.
That's true. Yeah. So okay. So you own Bitcoin. You have all these credit cards that you maxed out, or you just took the cash advance, I'm assuming, right?
No. It's a big difference there. A balance
Okay.
transfer is very different from a cash advance.
Okay.
Very
Explain
different.
that to the audience because I don't know exactly how that works. But
Okay.
I'm
And a lot
actually
of people
thinking of
don't
doing it.
either. A lot of people don't either. And this is a common question I get on Twitter from
Okay.
many people. Okay, so I'll explain it. A cash advance is when you put your credit card into an ATM and they give you cash. That
Okay.
is a cash advance.
Okay.
Okay. So a debit card is not the only thing that gives you cash. You can use a credit card. And when you pull cash with a credit card, that's called a cash advance. What
Okay.
I'm doing is called a balance transfer. The difference is I'm not pulling cash out. Okay. I have a credit card which has a credit limit on it. And moving that into my bank account is a balance transfer. We're not taking cash out. We're just going
Okay.
from them to my bank. It all stays in the banking system. It just stays.
At
Nothing
zero
has been
interest,
removed. Hmm?
right? At zero interest, obviously, for
Yeah.
18 to 24 months
For
or
18
whatever.
to 21 months, it's 0% interest. They're
Okay.
lending it to
So
me.
how did you come up with this? I mean, this is like brilliant. Seriously. I mean, you're doing exactly what corporate America does, right? Take, or banks do, borrow at 0 and sell at 5. And now you borrowed at 0. Well, I didn't say even borrow. I'm not even going to say borrow because you're not paying any interest on it. You figured out a way to move or to take somebody else's money and make it work for you at 0 for now.
Yeah, in a
How'd you
temporary.
come up with this? I was like,
Okay, so the concept of balance transfer is nothing new, actually. They've been around forever. And I've been doing balance transfer since 2014. But back
okay,
in the day when I was younger, I just started working and I was building my credit and I would get the cards and I was just buying tech gadgets and like cameras and drones and stuff. Just consumer electronics, the
yeah,
stuff the government wants you to spend on. That's
yeah,
what I was doing. But I was using balance transfers at the time to do it. So I've always been taking out 0% deals on cards
okay,
and then buying a camera and I'll pay it off over 18 months. And then I have a camera, they got their money back. And I've been doing this for a while. It didn't occur to me to do it with Bitcoin until November last year.
okay.
So anyone who has a credit card and a good credit score, you should log in to your and check out your credit card offers. These things come in the mail every now and then, and online you can see it as well. They
Mm.
might just offer you a balance transfer. So you should check it out. Most people don't really poke around on their online banking, but if you do, they're there.
But you decided instead of buying crap with it, you decided to buy Bitcoin with it.
That's right. That's right.
Okay,
Once I really understood what was happening here. When I
okay.
was young, of course, I didn't understand, like most people.
Well, but better late than never. So,
Yeah.
but okay. So now you have Bitcoin. That are you? By the way, do you keep adding, like, taking out more balance transfers, or
Well,
are you
not
done?
not more balance transfers. I only did that. What I've posted about is that's all I've done for balance transfers.
Okay,
But I have a regular day job and I get a paycheck every other week. So I still keep buying with that. And that's
okay,
never stopped for many years now. So
okay.
that's my personal on the side. That'll go forever.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to call the 4-letter words that people use, hodl and all that garbage these days, which just doesn't make sense to me. But it's like,
Mm.
to me, the way you make it sound like you're never going to sell this thing, Bitcoin, I mean.
Well, I wouldn't say never because I'm at some point I'm going to enjoy my life with
Well, yeah, but
my savings. This is just savings to me, right? One day
yeah,
when I need to use it, it'll be there and I'll use it or I won't.
yeah.
So I will someday.
Okay. Well, we talked about, a lot about inflation and, debasing and gaslighting and all that good stuff. Do you, I mean, obviously you have your opinion. I want to hear it. Do you believe that Bitcoin is the only inflation hedge, the true inflation hedge out there? Do you think it is?
So I don't even consider it as an inflation hedge, to be honest with you, because, well, what I consider it is it's just a hedge against the increasing the money supply, which is
Okay.
different than inflation. These are different to me.
Okay. All
It's
right.
just a hedge against them printing money.
Okay. What do you think about gold? The Bitcoin being the new gold. A lot of people are talking about that.
Gold. So I'm from India. We have a lot of gold. Not me
Okay.
personally, but in the family there's gold.
Yeah.
And I mean, gold has been around forever. I think it's fine to hold some of it, some gold.
Yeah.
But these are all like Michael Saylor says, these are all horses in the same race. Okay, they're all racing against debasement. All of them, stocks,
Okay.
real estate, gold, Bitcoin. All of them are horses. So you might as well pick the fastest one. The fastest one is Bitcoin.
Okay.
But it's fine
One.
to have any of them, really.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta hedge yourself against this debasing and inflation. I mean, you gotta have some real estate. You gotta have some stocks, whatever it is. But you chose your horse as Bitcoin,
Yeah.
and you just mentioned him. So let's talk a few minutes about Mr. Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy. I talk a lot about it all the time. So to a much larger degree, he's doing what you're doing, or you're doing what he's doing, one or the other. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I'm doing what he's doing. He came first. So
Okay.
yeah, he's the role model here for the plan.
Okay.
And he's doing what the government is doing. Same thing. He has a company and he borrows and he services his debt using his company's cash flow. He doesn't have a printer either. He has to work. His company has to produce money, right? They have to make profits.
Yeah.
So same concept here. He has to go to work. MicroStrategy has to do well as a company, sell product, and then he services his debt. I got to go to work. I need to get my paycheck, and I service my Bitcoin debt. Same thing.
Okay. And you both are hoping that Bitcoin outpaces servicing of the debt by multitudes.
Yeah, right. And so far so good because all of his debt is near 0% as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like
And
less
so is
than 1%.
and mine is exactly 0% plus the
Yours is
3%. Yeah.
okay. So I mean, I usually ask questions that I don't know the answers to. So I really don't know. What the question that comes to mind is, all right. So you both are head first into this, right? Obviously he's a brilliant man. I think he is, and I'm pretty sure you're a brilliant man as well. But I'm thinking you both did not think of the potential downside, because there's a downside of everything. I mean, there's maybe 1% chance or whatever, but as a trader myself, I think of the downside when I'm executing a trade, and I have my exit strategy. Do you have
Mhm.
one? Jack, do you have one? Do you think of it's okay, what could happen that all this could get blown out of the water?
Okay, you have to define what blown out of the water means.
Okay,
Okay.
well, okay, so okay, your zero balance transfers come to an end,
Okay,
and
yep.
now you have no more of those offers. Now you have to start paying interest, and I
Mhm.
don't know what the interest is on your credit cards, but I'm assuming it's double digits.
Mhm.
So and Bitcoin goes down. Bitcoin goes to 40,000, 30,000. What happens?
Okay. So the 0% for me is ending.
Forced liquidation, basically. That's what I'm trying to ask.
Right. So for me, the 0% ends in May 2025. I
Okay.
already know the end date here.
Okay.
But here's the plan for me. I'm not the only one executing this plan. My whole family is executing this plan.
Okay.
So the next round, come May 2025, is my parents are simply going to take out cards because their credit is fresh, untouched. They're simply going to get the cards, and I'm going to balance transfer to them for another 18 to 21 months. And then we wait again. That's the plan.
Wow. That's just I'm telling you,
Because
man.
my parents are two boomers with 800 plus credit scores, like perfect credit customers. So
Uh,
nothing to do but wait.
yeah, I'm really like just flabbergasted by this. This is a, it's one of these things that why didn't I think of this, right? And I'm pretty sure there's going to be copycats now. I mean, you're pretty popular on Twitter. I'm pretty sure some people have followed your lead.
growing.
Do you know some people who have followed your lead doing the same
Yeah,
stuff?
I do. I've gotten maybe like 15, 20 messages from people who have executed as well.
And this is an executable plan. I mean, as long as the government or the banks are giving you the plastic or giving you the money at zero, I was like, might as well do it. I don't know. Okay, what is the worst that could happen, Sonny?
The worst that could happen
Yeah.
would be my parents are not able to get any of the credit cards,
Okay.
which means I will have to forced to sell in May 2025.
Okay.
And then
Because
even worse, maybe Bitcoin's at $10,000 in May 2025.
yeah.
Obviously, that would be a huge loss.
Yeah.
And if I don't want to pay, 25% interest,
Yeah.
then I would have to sell and, pay back the differential.
Okay.
That is the worst case scenario.
Well, I don't think that's going to happen. But Bitcoin,
I don't think that's going to happen either, because
I think
you're talking about America here. America is the mecca of consumer debt products. If my parents are not getting 800 credit score, parents aren't getting credit cards, then there's something very deeply wrong with the U.S. economy. Very wrong.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
that's
that
huge
means
trouble.
we're in a recession. That means the banks are cutting on credit lines. That means people are
Correct.
not paying. I mean,
That means much more.
that's
That
actually
means much more.
calamity. That's calamity. We don't want that. I mean,
That's right.
seriously.
They don't allow that anymore. They don't allow that
can't.
anymore.
Well, they can't. I mean,
And since I know this is why I'm taking huge risk, because I know they won't let credit slow down. I know that.
well, they can't let the market crash, and they can't let any of that happen because more than half their tax receipts are in capital gains. I mean,
Right. Like I said before, they need assets to keep going up every year. They need those capital gains in taxes.
Yeah. So I hope we explained you what he's doing. And I mean, it's really not that complicated, to be honest with you. It's not like this massive derivative play that he's putting on. He's like, saying, okay, this is what the government's doing. This is my antidote for what they're trying to do to me. I think it's brilliant. And that's why I wanted to talk to you. But a couple more minutes. And
I want to highlight two other things here that's the difference with what I'm doing. So for me, there's no margin risk here. There's no margin calls or liquidation risk with what I'm doing. I hold the Bitcoin. Bitcoin can go to 20,000 tomorrow, and the volatility means nothing.
Yeah.
All I need to do is make my monthly payment. That's it. They don't care volatility. This is not margin, and there's no risk.
There's no leverage. I understand.
There's no leverage here. The leverage is unsecured. It's different. It's not a margin leverage.
Yeah. No, I got that. That's definitely correct. I mean, maybe Michael Saylor has a little bit of
even Saylor has leverage risk. If Bitcoin dropped to like 3 or 2,000, he gets wiped out actually. But I wouldn't.
Yeah, I agree with that. He has
his break even, his leverage sell or something. It's very low. It's like 3,000 or something, which is very unlikely. But he has a liquidation point. I don't have a liquidation point.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. And the one other thing I wanted to ask you is, as we know, Bitcoin has been kind of going in a range, let's say, after that initial move, after you bought, and Michael was buying and everybody else. But the other thing I'm seeing now, Sonny, is that a lot of other companies, a couple of companies in Germany I saw the other day, a couple of companies in Japan now, they started doing what he's doing. What would happen to Bitcoin if Apple decided to do that? Or well, as you know, Elon did that for a little bit, right? And
so you saw in 21 what happened to Bitcoin when Tesla announced it, right? It jumped. It was a big jump that week. You can look at it in the chart and go back in history.
Yeah.
But if someone like Apple were to do it, you would see the same thing. You would see a massive candle.
Moonshot.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, these companies are holding trillions in cash, just sitting on T-bills or whatever the heck they do with it. I know Warren Buffett is not going to do it, but
Yeah, we
so
know
Bitcoin's
he's not gonna.
Bitcoin's been going sideways for, I don't know, between 55 and 70, let's say, for the last, I don't know, since April, since the halving, actually, before even the
Actually,
halving.
7 or 8 months. Yeah.
Yeah. So I look at it as a trader as digestion period before the next leg up, because that's the way I look at it. I look at this as the next base that is building. And
It's
when it goes next
consolidating
one,
here, exactly.
yeah, consolidating, exactly. Next move up should be 120, let's say. And hopefully it'll happen for your sake before May, but then you have your plan set up already.
Yeah. Even if it doesn't
So
happen, it doesn't matter to me.
yeah. So final words. Okay. So give our audience, give my audience some advice. Would you recommend regular folks like yourself doing this,
Mhm.
even now, even at 56,000?
So I don't recommend anybody do what I'm doing unless
Right.
you're in a very, very good financial position and you have a high credit score and you're not leveraged and you don't have a lot of debt.
Yeah.
Those, if you're that person, you should be doing this at
Okay.
some scale. You don't have to
Yeah.
go all out like I did. You can do it just with one card.
Okay.
But
Okay.
the important thing here is really you really need to have finance 101 in check for you, personal finance 101.
Yeah.
You obviously cannot be spending more than you make. If you do that, if you're paycheck to paycheck, this is not for you. You
Yeah.
shouldn't even touch any of this.
Yeah.
But if you're better than that, and if you're actually, save more than you make and you're unleveraged and low debt, then you should
Yeah.
absolutely be doing some version of what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, we don't obviously give financial advice on our channel, but I think this is completely fascinating. It really is. And I'm like, I look, I wish you the best. I mean, I can't thank you really seriously for doing this with me, because I think a lot of people are going to think about doing something similar. I personally think everybody should own definitely at least 5, 6, 8% of their holdings in Bitcoin, whatever assets they have. I do, and I'm just going to give it to my kids when I die, probably. But
Mhm.
regardless of what happens to it, so any parting words? Any final words?
Sure, yeah. I would just say don't slave harder, just save in harder money. There's a big
Say it
difference
again.
too.
Say it again. This
I'm
is
gonna it's
yeah.
don't slave harder, just save in harder money.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. There's a difference between going around and like I know you're an Uber driver. I drove before as well. People drive Uber just to make ends meet, and some people do it for extra income and stuff. But you really don't need to do any of that if you just saved it in something like Bitcoin. That's going to do the hard work for you. You don't need to have all the side hustles to make more
Yeah.
money. You can just save in something hard that can't be debased,
Yeah.
and it's going to work harder than you ever could.
Yeah. We can probably release this video on the other channel too, because we have over 250,000 subscribers there, and they are trying to make ends meet, and they're week to week. And I
Mhm.
always tell them, man, you got to have a plan B. You can't keep doing what you're doing.
Right.
But
You're never going to outwork the money printer. That's mistake number one. You can't outwork the money printer.
wow. Yeah. But I like that. Just don't slave harder. I like that
Yeah,
one.
save in harder money.
Wow. All right. Well, I'm gonna end it here. So, Sonny, much appreciated. Thank you for doing this, and I will definitely keep following you on Twitter and your trials and what happens come May. And but again, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Sergio, for having me on. Thank you.